We woke up to some crazy news. We have a new champion in OCE for the first time in 616 days. A team won a regional in Oceania that did not consist of one of Banana Head, Torsas, Fever. Um, Torsas and Fever have won 7 straight regionals in OCE, and the three of them with Banana Head had a perfect 2024 season. They won every regional that they could. And then the one before the 7 that they won, it was the Pioneers with Behead, Scrub, and Super Lucky. So really a big change here, especially in a SKRIMZWORLD team that, I mean, if they were to not win it, you'd think that it would be one of the other teams, right? Like in the preseason rankings, it seemed like Wildcard, Chiefs, TSM were the top three for me, and then you could put Power below them. Um, but this SKRIMZWORLD team basically comes out of nowhere, and it's Caleb, Laxon, and Lunar, and I'll talk a little bit about each of them. Caleb, he was on Kib Gang last season; they were sixth in OCE. Laxon, this guy had a huge series. I went back and watched their wild card series and in their grand finals against TSM, and the wild card series was crazy because wild card looked, and this is uh, Torsas, Fever, and Banana Head. Wild card, they looked not good offensively. They looked slow on the defensive end as well. I'm trying to think back, especially in game 6 and 7. I remember a couple situations where they were trying to do solo plays in their own corners to try and beat several, and SKRIMZWORLD was kind of like, do your thing. Like I remember one, there was a couple Fever in the right offensive corner where he was trying to, finesse it and work the ball past one, and then try and take like a challenge along the back wall to try and get one to spit into the middle, and it just wasn't working. Um, yeah, I don't know. They looked nervous, and they looked like they kind of were put on their back foot there. But Laxon in this game 7, I mean, within the first 10 seconds, he takes a kickoff off the sidewall, spits it off the backboard. It waterfalls down, and he basically ground pinches it into the net right in front of him. Banana Head is positioned backwards, can't get to it. He ended up even though he missed an easy goal in transition, he almost had a 1,000 point game, Laxon. So huge for him in a game where nobody from Wildcard was able to show up. And it's kind of, I don't feel like it's a passing of the torch just because this Wildcard team still feel like they're great. But it is cool that it's this team because it's some new blood, and we'll talk more about that in a second here. But I just want to talk about Lunar real quick as well. He's been in the pro scene since 2019, and he's held basically every position under the sun. If you look at his, I have it pulled up in front of me on my screen here. I mean, it's probably the longest Liquipedia history I've ever seen, and I don't mean that as a negative. I mean, you got to make it work, especially in an emerging region like OCE. He's been a player, of course, a sub, a manager, been a part of it, organization, a content creator. I mean, he even retired in 2023. So clearly somebody who has a love and a passion for the game, and cool to see this finally come to fruition for him. And this SKRIMZWORLD team, again, we talked about, we're not in my top four, excuse me, and they have been perfect in groups, 6-0 in groups between Open 1 and 2. In Open 1, they lost the lower quarters to TSM to be bounced. In Open 2 here, they lost the upper quarters to TSM. And then in this grand finals, they finally get redemption here. And final thing I want to say, I think, is shout out to Adam Baguette, who friend of the Need Boost pod. He was on forever ago, and he had even posted this on X. He's been, looking for opportunities for quite some time since Hogan mode, and he was unable to find anything in NA in Europe, and decides to take the opportunity, take the risk, if you will, to go join an OCE team who, on paper, is not one of the top four. And I think a big part of what we saw in that matchup against Wildcard and against TSM is that those two teams kind of seem to get a little ahead of their skis. They got a little nervous in big moments, and I feel like the job of a coach, and of course there's all the in between stuff, but a big job of the coach is to have your team prepared for big moments like this. And again, just to go back to the history of, like, it's not like these are the super lockies and the amphises of the world, the fibers, the hunters who have had the opportunity. These are three players who I hadn't even really heard of much until this big win. So what I'm trying to say is for Adam to have at least some hand in helping them get over the mental block, uh, the mental challenge of beating the Kings on the throne, to beat Wildcard in a matchup where you'd probably be happy with that top four anyways and just say, hey, we made it here. Wildcard are awesome. They make it to, all of these LAN events, to overcome that and then to beat this TSM squad. And they punched him in the mouth. I think in the first game, they put like 7 goals on him or 6 goals on him or something like that. Game one or game two. And to close them out in 7 is huge. So good for SKRIMZWORLD. Shout out to Adam. And this kind of throws a monkey wrench into the standings here. We now have SKRIMZWORLD, who are second, and I'm trying to pull it up here. I think they're 2 points behind Wildcard. Yeah, they're 2 points behind Wildcard. Wildcard has 22. SKRIMZWORLD have 20. I'll probably put this up on the screen in the video. And then Chiefs and TSM are at 17. So it's going to be a dead sprint here in this open 3 to see who are going to get those spots for OCE. But yeah, that's it. Quick one here. Family's in town, so just catching up on a little news here. We got North America coming up soon. Guys, OCE is fun to watch. Check it out. Until next time, guys, take it easy.